I can't imagine how anyone who creates wouldn't be reflective on the current climate in culture. I mean, when we allow what is considered socially acceptable and what is not to be determined by another person, then we have already lost any credentials we may have had as artists, because art is then no longer an attempt to connect to an individual, it's just an attempt to appease the masses. I mean, for instance, do you recall when we used to fawn over anti-war protest work? Bob Dylan made a career of it. Hell, half a dozen druggies proclaimed decades ago to fight the media establishment and write what you want, paint what you want, set a guitar on fire while covered in mud whenever you want, and scream howl. Yes, I think that poem is more poignant now than it was before. Some of the most important and prominent artists are noted for their rebellious desire to push back against the mob's choking control over artistic permission. Artistic permission. Jesus. These days, compliance is required when you approach your canvas. Community standards are to be adhered to if you're going to type out words on their platform. Rectifying your racist name before singing another song is mandatory if you are to ever sing another song again. Lady Antebellum is doing its best to change their name. Well, I've given it to you. It's Lady Shame. I'm waiting for the day the bully Ministry of Art demands I apply for an application to produce art. You need a license for that, they'll say. They want to determine what is acceptable and what is not. Now, artists used to be fearless in the face of this kind of censorship and oppression. Now, they seem to cower before it, adhere to it, even promote it. And this should tell any artist what the BLM bully movement is all about and why you should fear them. The minute they squash sculptures, to include statues, ban books, strip the digital sphere of anything that can be streamed, and profess that Tootsie is a transphobic film tells you everything you need to know about how they view any sort of individual expression. They want to corral you, control you, and decide not only what you are allowed to express, but even what you can experience from one person to another. The mob despises any connection from one individual to another if it isn't approved by them first, because if you're allowed for any moment to make a distinctive soul-to-soul acknowledgement of one person rather than the group, the mob would cease to exist. If you want to see the direction this movement is going, this BLM bully movement, tally up each day the number of artists that placate for their own financial safety. Then tally the number of corporations writing public ransom notes worth millions while symbolic guns are pointed at their heads. And then tally the number of voices of detraction that are never mentioned. Virtually none. There are no massive waves of corporations nor media outlets donating tens of billions towards the widows of slain police officers and their children. Is your compliance with this bully movement about the money? Is it really what that's about? Is that why you've submitted to their oppression? Is that why you allow art to be censored? Oh, mercy. How lucrative to be a slave.